Hello and welcome to the Pope High School Dual Enrollment Procedures presentation. I'm Jamie Hamrick. I'm the Dual Enrollment Coordinator here at Pope High School, and I'm happy to give you part 2 of the Dual Enrollment Procedures. Before watching this presentation, please make sure that you have watched the Cobb County Dual Enrollment Summit, which gives you the basic information that you need to know about dual enrollment. This is part 2 that talks about how Pope implements dual enrollment in our building and different procedures and things that you need to be aware of in order to do dual enrollment at Pope. We do have a website. It's a bit.ly/Pope DE page, and you can also access it by directing your phone at the QR code. On this page, we have a couple of forms, the DE checklist and deadlines page that we generate in-house. That's a Pope form, and it gives you a step-by-step checklist of things that you need to do in order to meet all the steps for dual enrollment. And there's also the CCSD dual enrollment school agreement, which is basically like a contract that shows you all the different parts of dual enrollment that you are agreeing to by participating in this program. We also have a link to the different presentations, this one in addition to the Dual Enrollment Summit, so that you can have all the information that you need in order to do dual enrollment. A little bit of background about dual enrollment here at Pope. We have roughly 50 students a year, give or take, depending on the year. We have a good mix of students who do full-time dual enrollment, which means they are fully off campus and take everything through the college, and roughly half do part-time or hybrid combination of Pope High School classes and college classes. The majority of our students are at Kennesaw or Chat Tech. We have a few students who participate through Georgia Tech, Georgia State. We sometimes have students who participate with Georgia Highlands. The most commonly taken classes are the ones that you see below. English 1101 is by far the most popular class. After that, Gov and Econ, math classes, psych, and sociology. Those are all very popular. Science classes tend to be a bit more challenging. We do have students who take science classes for sure, but those are less commonly taken. We also have students who choose from a variety of many different world languages at the college level, including Spanish, Russian, sign language. There's Swahili, they have Hebrew, they have many different types of languages at KSU, for example, in Georgia State. We have students who take CTAE electives, career tech electives at Chattahoochee Tech in particular. There's a high need for students to go into these fields, and so there are some great opportunities for students who might want to go ahead and start dipping their toe in the water and test out some career tech fields that they might be interested in. So I want to discuss what a full-time dual enrollment student would look like. These are the students who are completely at the college. They take nothing with the high school at all. They are going to be taking 12 to 15 hours of credit at the college. And what that means is they are taking roughly 4 to 5 courses. Students who are enrolled in courses at the college, they refer to courses based on the number of hours they are in the class during a week, roughly. So a class, English 1101, is going to be a 3-hour class, which means they are in class for 3 hours during the week. So it's a 3-hour class, and the majority of classes are 3-hour classes. Students will encounter 4-hour classes. Every once in a while, they'll encounter a 1 or a 2-hour class. But so in order to be a full-time dual enrollment student, they have to be in at least 12 hours. Again, that's roughly 4 to 5 courses. The maximum number of credits that a student can take at the college is 15. Students can take approximately 1 year of full-time dual enrollment before they have exhausted their free dual enrollment hours. And if you've watched the summit presentation, you will see that there is a way to pay for courses yourself. You can self-pay, and we can put those onto the high school transcript. That is a conversation you would want to have with your counselor about whether that is an appropriate option for you or not. But keep in mind that high school students are not able to get the Hope Scholarship, so you would be paying the full price of those college classes, whereas if you graduate from high school and then have Hope Scholarship kick in, you're actually going to be taking those classes at a discount. So it might be better to graduate first and then take your college classes if you're going to go beyond the free 30 hours. Again, that's a conversation to have with your counselor when you meet for advisement for your classes. Being full-time means that you are not taking any classes at Pope. You're not taking anything through Cobb Virtual Academy or Georgia Virtual School. I will say that students who do full-time usually have no issues scheduling their classes. We're not trying to merge their Pope classes with their dual enrollment classes and trying to make sure there are no conflicts. So I usually don't have much issue with the full-time students with figuring out parking and our crazy bell schedules that change all the time. They are just focused on the college classes and not trying to figure out different calendars. So there's definitely some benefits to doing full-time dual enrollment if the student is ready for that commitment. They're not having to deal with parking, which we do not guarantee parking for dual enrollment students, but on the counter side of things, it's more challenging to get information about what's going on at Pope. So if a student is wanting to still be tied to Pope and be involved and participate in different things, it's going to be challenging because they are not going to be in class where announcements are made. They're not going to hear about things that are going on day to day. They could still be participating in different activities through Pope. They're still Pope students, but there is a challenge there, and it can be a little more difficult getting that information. This page illustrates an example of what a full-time dual enrollment student schedule might look like. Certainly students can take all different types of classes at the college, but this is just to illustrate what a full-time student might look like. Up at the top you can see where I am reminding you of 1 to 2 college credit hours. Those actually receive a half high school unit of credit, so 3 to 5 college semester hour courses actually receive 1 full high school unit of credit. So remember, I said most college classes are 3 hours, and so students who are taking 4 to 5 of these classes are actually earning 4 to 5 units of high school credit per semester, which is much more than what they get when they're taking classes at Pope High School. So we'll break this down a little bit. So this particular student is taking English 1101. It's a 3-hour class, so they are going to receive back at the high school a full high school unit of English credit, which could count for one of their English credits toward graduation. If they take chemistry, which is a science, obviously, it's going to be a 3-hour class. They're going to get a full credit of high school chemistry credit, and they also have to sign up for a lab. Chemistry is one of those lab credits where they have to sign up for a concurrent lab course. They do not do the labs in the lecture, so you have to do that at a separate time. That is going to be considered a 1-hour course, and they're going to get a half hour of a chemistry lab credit on their transcript. So they actually get 1.5 high school credits for that class. They come with 2 separate grades. We don't merge them together, but those are 2 separate grades that we'll post to the transcript. This particular student is taking Math 1113, which is considered pre-calculus. So they'll get a full credit of pre-calc. They're taking political science, so they'll get their government credit. That's how that transfers back to the high school. So that's their, and they're going to get a full credit for that. Here at Pope, government is only a half credit class, so they actually get a full credit of government credit. So the total number of hours the student is getting is 13 hours. They're getting 4.5 units of high school credit in one semester, in the fall semester of their semester. Spring, let's say they decide they want to keep going in English, take English 1102, get that second part of that freshman English requirement. That's going to be another credit of high school English credit. It's not going to yet count for the American Lit credit. Sometimes students in 11th grade are wanting to get their American Lit credit. Neither one of these classes count for American Lit. They actually have to do 1101 and 1102. And then after they've done both of those, then the next year or the next English class they take could be the American Lit. It's just the way that the college does things. So if a student is a junior and they're wanting to get their American Lit, just realize they need to do both of these classes and then they can get to American Lit. So they're going to end up getting an extra English credit through this. Psychology 1101 comes back to high school as just a high school psychology class. Math 1190 would be a calculus class. So this is an example of a 4-hour class. It's a bit more rigorous, a bit more involved. So they get 4 hours of college credit, but that is also coming back to the high school as a 1 hour or 1 credit class, and then they're taking economics, which is a 3-hour class, and they're getting a full unit of economics. Again, just like the government gets a half credit at Pope. If you take it as a Pope class, economics is also a half credit at Pope, but taking it through the college, they're getting 4 units of high school credit. So they are grand total earning a total of 26 college hours and 8.5 high school credits here at Pope. Taking classes as a normal high school student, they are typically only receiving 3 high school credits and no college hours, unless they're taking AP classes and get credits for that. But that just shows an example of what a full-time student schedule could look like. So I want to talk part-time now. Part-time is a bit more of a challenge, and I want people to go into part-time realizing that, because part-time is not always easy to schedule. You have to realize that you need to be flexible if you're going to want to do part-time dual enrollment, because we build the Pope schedule after the students have chosen their college classes, and sometimes we are still tweaking the high school schedule all the way up until the first day of school for the next school year. And sometimes the classes that the student is hoping to take at Pope does not fit with the classes that they have chosen to take at the college, and it just is an unfortunate situation that sometimes we just have to make adjustments. We have to have the student change their classes at the college because we have to account for a lot of different things. So we'll talk about what that looks like. So let's kind of start here at the beginning. They have to take a combination of Pope and dual enrollment classes to be part-time. That means they're mixing and matching. They have some of each of those. And those classes, the Pope classes, could actually be done through Cobb Virtual or Georgia Virtual. So students could be doing nothing at Pope still, but perhaps they're taking Health Personal Fitness through Cobb Virtual Academy, for example. The credits have to add up to be at least 3 units of credit per semester. So we're not working so much with the hours at the college. We're converting all the hours to high school credits, and we're making sure that the student is enrolled in at least 3 units of credit per semester to be considered a full-time student at Pope High School each semester. They need to decide if they want their Pope classes to be in the morning or afternoon, and we will work to schedule those classes in the morning or afternoon, and then they will need to be choosing their dual enrollment classes in the opposite time frame. There is a really big importance to make sure that they are building in travel time. If they are needing to travel to the college, they need to kind of test that drive time out and measure it and figure out how long is it going to take me to drive from Pope High School to the college. And I would even go as far as, let's go to a classroom, walk out the door, go to your car, get in the car and drive, go to the college, park in the parking lot, walk to the classroom building, and time it that way. Because sometimes people forget the walking and the transitioning times and finding a parking spot, and what if the parking spot's full? Where am I going to go? I need to find a new parking spot. I need to adjust for that. So again, a lot of things to be mindful of. So I always tell students, make sure you build in plenty of cushion between Pope classes and dual enrollment classes so you've got time to transition, so you're not late to either one. You have to think about our different bell schedules. We have some crazy bell schedules, and we want students to be thinking of all those different factors. They need to be thinking about what extracurricular activities they're participating in, whether the sports or clubs might be having rehearsals or practices. What if there are tournaments that are going on? What if there is a state championship they have to go to, but they have a dual enrollment class that meets at the time when their bus is leaving, and is that college professor going to allow them to leave? These are things that we want students to think about ahead of time to figure out if this is going to be doable. They may be missing advisement time, where we're passing out announcements, activities, handouts. The GNN is being played. Students can watch GNN from home, so we would encourage students to please do that, but all the different things that happen during advisement, they're going to be missing out on all of that. Transportation and parking is probably one of the biggest limiting factors that students have for doing dual enrollment, I will say, because we are very limited in our parking. We do not have guaranteed parking for dual enrollment students. Seniors get first choice of parking spots, and then juniors get spots based on a lottery system. So students who are hoping to do dual enrollment as juniors need to have a backup plan In fact, their backup plan needs to be parking at Pope, and their primary plan needs to be something else. And I would encourage that to be the first option that students have for doing dual enrollment. Have some other option in place, and if you get a parking spot, that's a happy coincidence and wonderful. You get that parking spot, but that would not be something I would encourage any junior to bet on. So I would have another alternative in place as the primary option. For students who are participating in singleton courses, we would consider those courses that only have one section, for example, yearbook, or maybe mastery band, their highest level of band, or maybe they're in an academy section of a particular class. We sometimes anticipate where we think those classes are going to be based on prior years, but they sometimes have to change, even though, oh, it's always been taught this particular period, but there have been times in the past where we've had to change yearbook, for example. It used to be first period all the time, and then one year we had to put it sixth period, and it really kind of threw some kids off who were doing dual enrollment who were in yearbook. And so we build the Pope schedule based on student needs and making sure that we get the maximum number of students in their chosen classes as possible. And sometimes that means we need to move things around. And so again, despite your best efforts, the things that you think are going to happen may not happen the way that you want them to. So again, you have to be willing to be flexible, and if you have specific specialty electives you want to take, you need to think about how you might work around that. When we're considering absences and tardies, dual enrollment reasons are not excused. Again, we want students to plan well in advance, and we'll work with students to try to schedule things to match their dual enrollment schedules as much as we can here at Pope, but we don't excuse absences due to dual enrollment. Again, you must factor in that extra time for parking and walking to and from class. You cannot get permission from a teacher here at Pope to be late or miss a class on a regular basis. That is not going to be allowed. Every year we have students who say, well, this teacher says that I can be 10 minutes late every Tuesday and Thursday because I'm coming from my dual enrollment class, and we will not allow that. That is not something that is approved, and we need to find a different option because we can't allow students to regularly be late to a class. It's not fair to other students who are late for other reasons. We need to be consistent with all students. If you have excessive tardies and unexcused absences, if you do have one of those coveted parking spots, you could lose your parking spot, and that's going to be devastating for you for dual enrollment. So we do take this very seriously, and we do have to be consistent with how we enforce attendance at Pope. If you want to be on the Pope campus at any time, it has to be something that is on your schedule. Or you have to have special permission from the teacher. Like, let's say you're working on something for drama and you're working with a teacher. As long as she's given you approval to be there with her, you can do that. But you can't be on the Pope campus if you're not scheduled to be on the Pope campus. We have some situations this year where students are coming in for lunch during times that are not, lunch is not scheduled on their dual enrollment schedule at all. And they're coming on campus, and that's not allowed. We have to be able to account for students who are in our building. It's a liability situation and a security issue, and we've got to make sure that students are where they need to be at the appropriate time. So again, be mindful of that. That's part of, we do verification with student schedules every year at the beginning of each semester for students to compare their Pope schedule with their dual enrollment schedule to see and identify any of these oddity situations, anything that we need to discuss. And one of those is whether they want to come to Pope for lunch. We need to make sure that it is on their schedule during a time that butts up against when they're going to be here at Pope, so that they're not coming on campus for lunch and then leaving and then coming back. We don't want kids going back and forth. It's once you're here, you're here. Once you've left, you're gone. Classes should not overlap. That kind of goes back to being late or missing class. No classes at all should overlap. Once again, I'm going to reemphasize, Pope teachers cannot give you special approval to arrive early or leave early or arrive late because of dual enrollment. And just please know, schedules may conflict. Despite everything you try to do, every everything that you try to anticipate, there might be something that comes up that conflicts, and you may need to make adjustments, and we just want you to know that going into it up front. This page gives an example of what a student's part-time dual enrollment schedule might look like if they're doing part at dual enrollment and part at Pope. So this particular class wants to take English 1101 and political science 1101, so they're going to get high school English and government, but then they are also taking pre-calculus at Pope, they're taking astronomy A at Pope, they're taking chorus at Pope. So perhaps they're taking those 3 classes in the morning and they leave and they go to their dual enrollment classes for the afternoon, or vice versa. So this particular student is going to be getting 3 hours of college credit and they are earning 3.5 credits of high school credit. Then let's say in the spring they switch to psychology and economics. So we get those credits at the college, and then they're finishing up their second half of pre-calc, second half of astronomy, second half of course at Pope. Again, they're getting 6 hours of college credit and 3.5 hours of or credits from the high school. So in total, they're going to be earning 12 college hours and 7 high school credits. This page is reminding you about withdrawals that you should have heard in the summit presentation, but withdrawals are a big deal. Dual enrollment classes cannot be changed or dropped after the first 10 Cobb County school days. So the first 10 days of the Cobb County semester, we cannot drop dual enrollment classes unless you're willing to take a grade of a 10 on the Pope transcript for that particular dual enrollment class. This is a very big deal. Every year we always have students who get into a class and they start to feel like they're in over their head and they want to ask to drop the class, because at the colleges will allow students to drop classes without much penalty. They'll get a withdrawal on their transcript, but it doesn't give them much of a penalty grade-wise. But for dual enrollment, you need to understand that it will incur a grade of a 10 on the Pope transcript because we cannot make changes to schedules after the first 10 days of the Cobb County school calendar. This means that even if the dual enrollment class has not started and the student hasn't even gotten into that class, we cannot make a change. Even if the class is hard and you're in danger of failing the class, if you drop it, you're going to get a 10. If the college advertises drop, add, and withdrawal periods to the student body, so as a normal college student, a student who is a full-time, has already graduated from high school, college student, they can do drop, add, and withdrawals without any oddness going on. But students who are high school students are held to a tighter standard and are not able to just drop and add and withdraw from classes like a normal college student would. Even if the professor suggests that the student drop the class, even if the course starts in October like a quarter class. Sometimes students start classes in October and they get into them and they think, oh my gosh, well, it's still within the first 10 days of that class, I could drop it. No, we are well past the first 10 Cobb County school days at that point. Even if the course is taken in the summer, that is still it still needs to be based on the first 10 Cobb County school days. We usually base that on the summer school schedule. When it comes to following deadlines and making sure that we are getting all of our students' paperwork completed and getting them their applications into the college, we want students to have the March 1st deadline permanently etched into their minds. At Pope, we want students to get everything done by March 1st. We want them to have applied to the college. We want their test scores to have already been sent into the college. We want them to have already submitted their transcript to the college. We want to have already met with them. We require students to meet with us, and I'll give you more information about that in a minute. Every dual enrollment potential student will be meeting with their counselor to go through requirements and checking their classes and picking their classes. So we want students to follow a deadline of March 1st, which is going to be different than many of the college deadlines. Colleges are going to post different deadlines for dual enrollment than what we would ask for them to do. Cobb County School District, in your previous presentation, you probably heard that they want you to have completed everything by May 1st. We at Pope think that is too late. Even though we will work with students who want to go with that May 1st deadline, but there's a reason we have the March 1st deadline, and we call it a priority deadline, so it's not the ending deadline. The very last deadline would be the May 1st deadline, but March 1st gives students a better chance to get the classes that they want. If they can get everything in and get admitted, then they're going to be ready to go when enrollment starts, and they can pick their classes and pick their locations and pick the times that they want. If they wait any later, if they apply by May 1st, they're going to be accepted maybe a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks later. School's going to be out by that point. We counselors are not going to be available to help them with things because we are off contract in the summer. It just creates a lot more complication. By that point in the summer, all the students who just graduated from high school are now starting to register for their classes, so the competition increases for those English 1101, Math 1111 classes, those intro level classes, so they are no longer getting a priority first look at classes and picking those intro level classes. Now they're competing with students who just graduated from high school for some of those classes that they want to take. So we want students to really focus on getting everything in and everything done by March 1st. Please do not wait until March 1st to ask for the meeting. Please do not wait until a week before to ask for the meeting. We would encourage, if you look at the stars on the side, you are urged to complete the process even earlier than the priority deadline. Again, the earlier the better. Sometimes we have students who schedule these meetings with us in the fall, and that's perfectly fine. If the college deadline is earlier than March 1st, we suggest at least a month prior to the college deadline. Again, just to make sure that you get everything in, there's no issues, there's no confusion, you get in plenty of time to be able to register for your classes earlier, okay? And again, we will allow students to go with the May 1st deadline. After May 1st, we are not able to accommodate dual enrollment requests. And we'll work with students as much as we can if they want to do this process after March 1st, but just know that you could be at a disadvantage and it might be trickier getting those classes. On the Pope Dual Enrollment webpage, we have a checklist you can download, and I have taken the bullet points from that checklist and put them into this PowerPoint. So the first check box is that you need to have watched the Dual Enrollment Summit, which is the part 1 of the presentation, and then the following Pope session, which you're hearing right now, is considered part 2, or you can watch the replay videos at on the website. This is mandatory for both families and students interested in DE. We need for not just the families to watch it or just mom or dad, we need the students to watch it as well, because we want everyone to understand the ins and outs of dual enrollment, so you really have a good understanding of the basics before we start discussing the more minutia and specifics that we need to for each individual student. There are colleges that have information sessions as well. Those do not replace the Dual Enrollment Summit or the Pope session because we are giving specific information that we want you to know about. The college sessions are going to just serve as supplements, and they just give you specific information about what it's like at KSU or Chat Tech. At the end of this presentation, there will be a way to log your attendance. There's a survey at the end, and you're going to verify that you have viewed both the summit and this Pope presentation, and we will be looking at that when you contact us to schedule the meeting. We are going to look to see that you and both the parent and the student have signed off saying that you've watched these videos so that we can know that you have heard at least the basics. Then we want you to make sure that you have researched the fit of dual enrollment to your situation. Make sure that you've checked to see if you're admissible to the particular college that you're interested in. What is the impact to the GPA and HOPE going to be? Do you think that dual enrollment is better than AP or vice versa? How is that going to impact admissions to college? What are the day-to-day logistics going to look like from getting to and from? What about driving and parking? Is that going to be an issue? What about transferability? Different colleges have different rules as far as transferring courses that are dual enrollment courses in when a student comes in after high school graduation. Another real important piece to applying for dual enrollment is that students are going to need to submit some sort of test score, whether it be the SAT or ACT. If they're looking at Chattahoochee Tech, they'll need to possibly take the AccuPlacer if they haven't done the SAT or ACT, and the scores need to be submitted to the college. We strongly recommend that students test in the fall if they are wanting to apply to a dual enrollment program to start the following fall. So this is a year in advance procedure. So the websites where you sign up for the SAT is collegeboard.org, ACT is actstudent.org. AccuPlacer can be done directly with Chattahoochee Tech. They offer that test on their campus. If students have AP scores that they have earned that they would like to submit to colleges, go ahead and send those ASAP to the college. If students are wanting to exempt introduction courses and want to take higher level courses, the college is not going to allow you to register for those courses until they've received those AP scores. So we'll talk about that in our advisement sessions if students are wanting to do that, but we might suggest that students who are taking AP exams in May and are wanting for those scores to exempt them for classes for the next school year, we would suggest them to take those classes actually in the spring versus the fall, because the turnaround time is very tight and the chances are good that those classes are full that they want to get into. So it might be better for them to take those classes in the spring, so there's plenty of time to get that AP score in and get it applied to their account so that they can then take the higher level course later. They need to then make sure that they have submitted the dual enrollment application to the college. Every college has an application. It's just like applying to college. So they fill out the application to the college. They're sending SAT scores. Then they're going to need to send a transcript. These are all things that typical college applicants do. Application, test scores, transcript. You have to have the counseling office send this. It has to be an official transcript. They're $2. You can request it through My Payments Plus, or you can come into the counseling office and fill out a transcript card and submit it that way. Just keep in mind, Chattahoochee Tech does not require a transcript. They would just require the AccuPlacer or one of those other test scores for admission in the app. Then the student is going to submit a dual enrollment funding application on GA Futures. The student needs to be the one to create this account and complete the application first. They're going to include their parent's email address in that application, and when they hit submit, the parent will get an email with instructions on how to sign the application also, and then it will go to the high school counselor, and it'll be waiting on us here at Pope for when it's time for us to meet and discuss classes. Next, the family is going to go to the Pope Dual Enrollment website, and there is a form there called the CCSD Dual Enrollment School Agreement. This is that one that I said earlier is like a contract. It basically gives all the rules and regulations of how to do dual enrollment and the things that students need to be mindful of in doing dual enrollment as a Cobb County School District student. You're going to fill that out, you're going to sign it, and then you're going to email that agreement to your assigned counselor to request a dual enrollment advisement meeting to complete some remaining paperwork. There are some extra steps that we have to do together. We are going to respond with some additional things for you to do prior to the meeting, just to give us a little bit more information about what your plans are. We'll discuss in the meeting graduation requirements, what classes you're wanting to take. There's an advisement form we have to fill out together where we are listing the classes. And please make sure you've done all the steps prior to requesting the meeting, because we need to have all the steps that I've mentioned already done, completed. They need to be completed before we meet for the counselor meeting, so that we know that we're at the right spot and everything has been done. So after all the steps above have been completed, the student should be hearing an admissions decision from the college. It could be between 2 to 6 weeks. It just depends on kind of what their time frame is, how many people they have applying. The student needs to be checking their email. This information is going to come to the student, not the parent. Dual enrollment assumes the student is taking care of all these things. When a student becomes a college student, all the communications go to the student. So we want the student to be checking their email for this information. If they are admitted, then they are going to receive a lot of information of steps they need to take. They are going to need to register for and attend some sort of an advisement or orientation. We want them to pick the soonest advisement time they possibly can. They will get instructions through their email accounts. They're going to need to set up a college email account, and that's one of the instructions they're going to receive. And then once they've done the orientation, they will need to register for classes at the college ASAP. They will find out how to do that during their orientation. We want students to register for their classes at the first available opportunity. Again, the earlier you register, the more opportunities you have for getting the times you want, the class you want, the location you want. And so that is super critical, again, especially for these students who are wanting to do a hybrid type program. The Mountain View campus for Chattahoochee Tech, for example, is just right around the corner. It's very close, but they have very few classes. They don't have classes that meet every single hour all day long every day. They have maybe a couple of sections of English 1101, and those are going to fill up fast. And so if you wait, you're not going to get one of those spots. You're going to have to drive to Marietta. You're going to have to drive to Woodstock. You might have to drive up to North Metro, or even we've had students take classes at Jasper. And we don't want you to do that. We want you to take the Mountain View classes if that's where you want to go. Okay? We want students to then email a copy of that schedule to the counselor no later than the last day of school, no later than May 25th this year, so that we can make sure that we are getting your funding approved for those classes before we leave for summer break. It also helps us to be able to verify that your dual enrollment classes are going to match up with your POPE classes. If there's an issue, we can reach out to you at some point during the summer, hopefully, and try to resolve those issues earlier rather than later. So please make sure you take care of that. We want those schedules earlier than the last day of school, but that's the deadline that we want those schedules to be sent to us. The college is probably going to want you to submit some other documentation. They are going to want proof of immunization records. You can get those from your physician. They may want you to submit verification of lawful presence. There's information about that on their website, and there may be some other forms and things they need you to do. So after all of this information, if you are interested in doing dual enrollment, then please download a copy of that checklist that's on the dual enrollment page. Start working down the checklist up to the point where you need to schedule an advisement session, and then when you're ready and you have signed off on the CCSD dual enrollment school agreement, email that to your counselor and we will meet with you. Please make sure you're doing this all well before March 1st, and we will be happy to meet with you and discuss how we're going to make dual enrollment work for you, which is a fantastic program and a great way to save money on college, and we're looking forward to working with each of you. Now that you've watched our presentations, both the Summit and the POPE dual enrollment presentation, please log your attendance so that we can verify that you have seen both of these presentations. And we look forward to meeting with you to discuss your dual enrollment plans.